Chapter 1. The air over Thebes settles like a silken shroud, still warm from the sun that has just slipped behind the desert's edge. The river moves in silence, its black surface rippling faintly with light, carrying the day's last breath down toward the delta. Along its banks, palms stir gently, and the stone walls of the city reflect the pale glow of dusk. You can almost hear the hush of linen robes brushing against sandstone, the soft click of sandals in columned halls, and the distant murmur of priests tending to 1,000-year flame. Within the great palace, behind carved doors inlaid with ivory and turquoise, a boy is growing. His name is Amenhotep. He is the second son of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, ruler of a golden empire stretched wide across 2 lands. His mother, Queen Tai, is no ornament. Her mind is sharp, her presence stilling. She is the voice in the ear of the king, the anchor in the court's tide. From her, the boy learns stillness and wait. He walks the halls where gods peer from every shadow. Amun, the hidden one, painted with sapphire skin. Thoth, the moon-eyed scribe. Sekhmet, fierce and burning, with lioness gaze. Their names hang thick in the air, repeated in every blessing and breath. Temples rise like mountains etched with prayers older than any living soul. Priests move through them like shadows cast in incense. The boy watches. He learns the rites, the proper gestures, the syllables that bend the divine ear. He bows, but something in him stays straight. There is a quiet tilt to his gaze, not defiant but distant. His eyes lift beyond the statues, past their crowns and staffs, toward the shaft of light spilling from high windows. He studies how it moves across stone, how dust dances in it, how even the stillest statue changes when the sun touches it. He is a child of the court, but not quite of it. Where others repeat the names of gods with practiced devotion, he listens for something else. Not a voice, exactly. A warmth. A presence that asks nothing, gives everything, and disappears each night beyond the cliffs. His father, Amenhotep the Magnificent, is worshipped in his own time. The court swells with splendor. Foreign kings send lapis and lions, dancers from Kush, scrolls from Byblos, myrrh from Punt, all poured at the feet of a man declared divine while still alive. His monuments rise beside those of gods. His smile is carved as though it were eternal. The boy walks among this glory in silence. Sometimes he is seen in the courtyards at dawn, barefoot on the cool flagstones, watching as the first light touches the pylons. The palace servants whisper that he speaks to the sun. The priests call him sensitive, otherworldly. Some say he is not strong enough to rule. Others, that he sees too deeply. His tutors record that he learns slowly, but what he learns, he never forgets. His elder brother, the crown prince, is vigorous and bright. The court expects his rise. Amenhotep, younger and quieter, lingers in the periphery. But the gods, or the fates, or time itself, have other plans. The elder son dies. No proclamation is made. The palace mourns in silence, and the torch is passed not to the expected, but to the one who watched the sun from the shadows. Amenhotep IV, the boy once overlooked, now steps forward to inherit a throne built on gods he never quite believed. And the gods are watching, not just the painted ones in temples, but the living gods of bureaucracy, priesthood, and memory, the ones who speak through ledgers and scrolls, through chants sung in dark sanctuaries. They wait for the boy to bow, to offer, to perform the roles worn smooth by generations. They wait to see if he will kneel before Amun. He does at first. He recites the prayers. He blesses the waters. He rides in gold-leafed processions past crowds that cheer for the crown, not the man beneath it. But at dawn, when the city still sleeps, he watches the sun again. It rises exactly as it always has, asking for nothing. He does not yet speak its name aloud, but he is listening, and behind him, barely visible in the gathering light, the disk begins to appear, not on altars, on walls, in jewelry, in the soft eyes of the one who will soon stand beside him. Not yet a heretic, not yet a god, just a boy beneath the sky, hearing something that others have forgotten how to hear. The world, still for now, begins to shift. Chapter 2. The halls of Thebes remain cool even as the morning heat gathers, their stone floors whispering beneath sandals, their walls lined with painted stories no longer told aloud. The sun is still low, casting long golden fingers through open colonnades, catching dust in the air and turning it to something almost divine. The incense still burns at the temples, curling sweet and slow toward high ceilings etched with stars. And in the palace, the boy who watched the light in silence now wears the crown. Amenhotep IV, son of Amenhotep the Magnificent, stands where his father once stood. The court bows, the scribes record, and the priests chant the names of the gods of Thebes, the gods of the hidden, the ones whose faces are painted in deep blue and gold, whose statues sleep in the dark, who receive offerings behind closed doors. He gives them what is required. He blesses the waters. He honors the flood. He appears before the people draped in linen, rimmed in turquoise, eyes outlined in black coal. His face is the state now, and the state must remain still. The rites continue. The courtiers bow. The tombs are cut deeper into the cliffs. But beneath the formal robes, the stillness does not hold. Small signs begin to drift into view, not loud, not sudden. The Aten, the sun disk, with rays that reach like hands, appears more often, carved into walls, placed above scenes of royal life. Not in opposition to Amun, not yet, but present, felt. The god without face, without myth, without need for intermediaries, begins to watch. And beside the king, Nefertiti. Her name means the beautiful one has come, but her place is not ornamental. She is not draped behind him like a shadow. She stands level, often even leading. In the reliefs carved now, they are shown together, offering to the Aten, crowned alike. Bodies turn not toward the gods, but toward the sky. Her presence is deliberate, her touch seen in the architecture of power. Together, they shape something that isn't yet a revolution, but no longer tradition. Their daughters are born in turn, Meritaten, Meketaten, and more to follow. The family appears in ways unseen before, casual, smiling, cradling children beneath the rays of the Aten. The art begins to breathe in warmer tones, showing laughter and play, not just eternity. This is not a break from religion, not yet, but it is a different kind of worship, one with no temple doors to close. The priests watch. Amun's temples are vast, his clergy powerful. Generations of ceremony lie behind each gesture, each offering, each coin gathered and stored. The priests do not speak against the king, but their silence grows longer in the court. Their eyes follow the sun disk as it spreads its fingers across more stone. The court too begins to shift, gently at first. The Aten appears in official documents. Artists are asked to draw from life, not from canon. Stone carvers start to elongate the figures, not just as an artistic term but as reflection. The king's body is shown as it is, or as he wishes it seen. Long torso, rounded stomach, narrow limbs. A god remade not in ideal but in truth or in vision. A form that does not match his ancestors, nor attempt to. Through it all, the sun continues its rise and fall, indifferent. Foreign diplomats come and go. Tribute is collected. Letters are exchanged with distant kings. To the outside world, the crown remains steady. Egypt is still whole, still golden. But Amenhotep IV does not walk the temple of Amun as often now. He steps into sunlight more often than shade. He studies where the rays fall and where they do not. He speaks of building, not another monument to his name, but something new. He gazes eastward, where the land stretches bare and untouched. He begins to speak not of eternity, but of the horizon. And though no decree is made, though no statue is yet torn down, something has already shifted in the rhythm of time. The gods of Thebes still stand, but the light has begun to pass them by. In the hush of his chambers, as the linen curtains sway in the desert breeze, and the sounds of sandals fade down long hallways, the Pharaoh closes his eyes, and when he opens them, he is looking not at stone but toward the dawn. The Aten shines, but it does not speak, not yet. Chapter 3. The desert air holds its breath. Beyond the reach of Thebes, beyond the carved shadows of Amun's great courts, the land stretches quiet and bare, kissed only by wind and sun. Here, where no temple has ever stood, where no god has laid claim, the horizon draws a perfect arc between two rising cliffs, and in that space, the sun lifts without obstruction, pure and whole and clean. It is here that the king comes. His sandals sink softly into the sand as he walks the future. No priests wait for him. No chants follow. Only the sky, wide and watching. Amenhotep IV pauses at the foot of a low ridge, his shadow long and narrow behind him. His hands trace the lines of the valley, and in his mind, the city has already begun. Not stone yet, not walls or columns, but rhythm, shape, light. He bends and places the first boundary stone. Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten, will rise where nothing has stood before. From that moment, the dream becomes motion. Messengers are sent, architects summoned, carvers and masons, laborers and scribes. The plans are not like those of Thebes. They do not follow the sacred blueprints of Amun's house. There are no dark sanctuaries, no nested chambers for gods who must be hidden. The temples here will have no roofs. The light will fall freely, unfiltered, on every offering, on every hand lifted in praise. And the king himself will live within that light. The work begins swiftly. In the dry heat, bricks bake hard and fast. Foundations stretch outward in long, unbroken lines. Streets are drawn broad, courtyards wide, rooms facing east. From high ground, the layout emerges like the lines of a hymn. No pyramid, no tomb. This city is not for death. It is for presence. Artists are given new instruction, not to repeat the old forms, but to observe, to soften the lines, to capture the king as he is, or as he sees himself. His features are lengthened, lips fuller, stomach rounded, not godlike in the old sense, but different, seen. Nefertiti walks beside him. Her name is carved with his, her image paired in nearly every panel. Their daughters, growing taller, appear in scenes of everyday joy. The family is no longer frozen in ceremonial perfection, but rendered with warmth. A kiss on the cheek, a hand outstretched to catch a falling lotus. The sun above them always, its arms reaching downward, touching each figure with delicate hands. The Aten does not speak. It does not appear in dreams. It is not born from sky or ocean. It has no battles, no origin, no face. It shines, and that is enough. At the heart of the city, The great temple opens to the sky. The king enters it not in procession, but often alone. His prayers are not chanted in darkness, but whispered in sunlight. The air smells of bread, of resin, of warm limestone. The sacred fire here is not kindled. It arrives every morning without being summoned. The name Amenhotep becomes a memory. The king emerges again into public life as Akhenaten, effective for the Aten. His god is no longer one among many. It is the only. The others are not denounced. They are simply not spoken of. Their temples are left behind. Their statues are not moved. They are allowed to fade quietly, as though they had never been central to the world. The court adapts. Some embrace the change with open arms, finding in the Aten a clarity long sought. Others nod in silence, uncertain. The priests of Amun, now far behind in Thebes, feel their reach shortening. Their voices carry less weight. The new city has no place for them. In the workshops of Akhenaten, stone is carved faster than ever before. Scenes of daily life, of offerings beneath the Aten, of the royal family playing in gardens, fill walls across the city. The words of praise are sung in open plazas. The language of worship becomes simpler. Director. The Aten does not hide in metaphor. It illuminates all. Children grow in this light. Daughters of the royal house learn not just to dance or to weave, but to serve in ceremony. The court, once dominated by elder priests and generals, now bends around a new center, a family, human and divine, bathed in sunlight. At the edge of the city, homes rise for officials, for artists, for scribes. Shops open, loaves bake. Papyrus rustles in the warm breeze. It is not just a city of worship, it is a city of breath. A city where the rhythm of daily life beats under the same sun that watches the king. No guards stand at temple doors. No night falls within the sanctum. The king walks often in the early morning, when the stone is cool beneath his bare feet. He passes murals that show him not as a distant deity, but as a man of flesh and thought. A man reshaping the world not with conquest, but with belief. He does not return to Thebes. He does not seek the counsel of the old gods. In his new city, there is only forward, only light, only Aten. And though the winds still blow over the Nile, though the scribes still mark the days, a subtle boundary has been crossed. Egypt, vast and ancient, has a new heart now, a city born not of tradition, but of vision. A world made not for shadow, but for radiance. The sun rises again, clean and golden, spilling over white stones. And Akhenaten, once the quiet boy beneath the painted ceilings of Thebes, now lifts his face to the horizon he has named. The old gods remain silent, the light does not. Chapter 4. The morning comes without ceremony. It does not arrive with trumpets or processions, but with the hush of light spilling quietly over pale walls. The stones of Akhenaten are warm even before the sun fully crests the cliffs. They hold the memory of countless other mornings, where the same golden rays traced the same outlines across the courtyards, the altars, the open rooms. Here, in this city built for the sun alone, there is no darkness in the sacred places. The temples have no roofs. The god has no statue. The Aten is not imagined as a bird or a man, not cloaked in story or born from myth. It is only the light. It is only the warmth. It rises, and the city breathes. Akhenaten stands where that light first touches stone, his body thin beneath his linen robes, the hem of his garment just brushing the ground. The years have stretched his figure further, drawn his face into sharper curves, but still he stands, hands open toward the sky, receiving what he does not command. The rays fall upon him like memory. Each one ends in a small sculpted hand, reaching out, not to strike, not to seize, but to touch. Nefertiti is beside him. They do not kneel. They do not descend into shadowed chambers. They lift their hands together in offering bread, wine, incense. Their daughters are not far behind, some grown now, others still small, all watched by the same unfailing light. There is no need for torches or sacred fire. The sun is the only flame. The Aten, visible and complete, needs no interpreter. It is not a God you speak to. It is a God you feel. And in Akhenaten, the people learn to feel it too. The hymns are sung in the open. They do not tell stories of battles or vengeance, of gods tricking or triumphing. They speak instead of creation as radiance, of life as something stirred each day by light. The words are gentle, the rhythm slow. The sun does not hurry, it simply rises. The priests of Amun are gone. The temples at Karnak have grown quiet. No incense curls beneath their doors. The great statues, once anointed daily, now stand untouched. Their faces are still, their names unspoken. Here in Akhenaten, their power does not reach. There are no closed sanctuaries, no oracles. The king has removed the veil. To some, this is freedom. To others, absence. And Akhenaten does not ask which it is. The walls of the city continue to bloom with art, not just scenes of conquest or judgment, but of the royal family laughing, eating, walking in gardens. The Aten shines in every scene, always central. The figures grow softer, more expressive, and slowly more stylized. The king's body is lengthened further. His arms taper like brushstrokes. His daughters appear with elongated skulls, high brows, wide hips. The art becomes its own language, one less about truth, more about presence. Foreign scribes grow restless. Letters arrive from kings in the north, Hittite, Mitanni, Babylonian, asking for gold, for soldiers, for news. Often they go unanswered. The empire's fingers, once wrapped around distant cities, begin to loosen. Vassals call for aid. The desert winds blow over their pleas. Akhenaten, radiant and unmoved, writes less and prays more. The world beyond his city turns, but he does not turn with it. The people in Akhenaten continue their lives. The bakers' ovens glow hot. Potters shape clay vessels in courtyards. Children chase each other through courtyards. The scribes sharpen their reeds and record each offering brought to the temple, each loaf of bread, each string of onions, each jar of honey placed in the sun. The rhythm of the city holds. But the king becomes harder to see. He no longer walks the market paths. He does not visit the workers. His face appears now only in carved limestone and painted plaster, always bathed in gold, always gazing upward. His presence shifts from man to symbol, from ruler to axis. He is no longer just in the city. He is part of the god it serves. Nefertiti is still depicted, still worshipped beside him, though fewer speak her name aloud. She may have taken a new one. She may have vanished, or she may be watching from behind new curtains, shaping the world with quieter hands. No decree explains her absence, but the balance of the court changes. The Aten still shines, but the city has begun to cast longer shadows. Each evening, as the light softens, the temples remain open. No curtains are drawn, no torches are lit. The people bow to a sky that slowly empties of color, watching until the last rays fade and only the memory of warmth remains on their skin. Akhenaten believes this worship to be pure. It is without statue, without myth, without shadow. It is a devotion not built on fear or legend, but on the daily return of life. And still, he is alone with it. In the quietest hour, when the city sleeps and the wind slips through open windows like a forgotten prayer, the king stands in his high chamber. Below him, the city he dreamed of stretches in silence. Around him, the world that once answered him has grown quiet. The gods he denied do not stir. He lifts his face to the sky again. There is no voice, only light. Only light. Chapter 5. The city still wakes with the sun. Akhenaten lies quiet at first, its white walls barely touched by dawn, its courtyards wrapped in the hush of stone that has forgotten how to echo. The air is dry and golden. Far beyond, the Nile glimmers like a thread pulled through the valley's palm-lined hem. Life stirs slowly in the stillness, the familiar rhythm unchanged. But something beneath the surface has shifted, imperceptible at first, like the moment just before a breeze touches the back of your neck. The king is not seen, not for days now, then for weeks. The stories drift through the stone lanes, past between shaded thresholds. Some say he prays in silence. Others say he no longer speaks at all. There are those who still remember the days when he walked barefoot through the temples, head tilted toward the sun, hands outstretched. Now his image appears only in limestone, more divine than human, more symbol than breath. On the walls, his figure grows longer, his posture more serene. The Aten's hands reach always toward him, as though the light itself is held back from everyone else. Artists paint his features with exaggerated grace, almond eyes half closed in contemplation, limbs impossibly elegant. The lines no longer imitate life, they reflect vision. But the vision feels farther away. Foreign letters gather unanswered. A tablet from Mitanni goes untouched. A plea from a vassal king lies unread. The Hittites press southward, their chariots silent, their iron sharper with each season. Distant governors speak of unrest. Ambassadors are received less often, if at all. The corridors that once echoed with statecraft and decision grow quieter, their thresholds watched by scribes with nothing to record. Inside Akhenaten, the bread still rises. The children still play, but they no longer look to the palace for signs of life. Nefertiti's name fades from speech. Some say she died. Some say she changed her name, that she now rules beside him as a second self. Others say she left the city entirely, her devotion quietly buried beneath stone. Her figure, once carved alongside the king, now appears less often, or not at all. In her place, the daughters grow into women. One, perhaps two, take up the rituals of the court, but their roles are ceremonial. The weight of the crown remains on a man who is no longer there. And yet the sun continues. Every morning it rises between the cliffs, lighting the same white stones, pouring across the same courtyards. The temples still open to the sky. No fire is lit, no veil drawn. The Aten does not need priests. It only needs space to fall. But the spaces are empty now. Akhenaten no longer walks the city. No steps sound on the stone. No hand lifts in blessing. His voice is heard only in the hymns, sung now by others, repeated like memory half remembered. He becomes a presence that cannot be approached. Not a man, not even a king. A concept, a radiance, a still point within the sun. And still the people wait. They tend their gardens. They shape clay and grind grain and sweep dust from thresholds. The painters continue their work. The royal form stretches further, limbs graceful, eyes eternal, flesh soft and undying. They do not sculpt him old. He does not wither. He floats just above them, like the Aten itself. But in the spaces between prayers, the world begins to stir. In Thebes, the priests who once served in silence start to gather. The names of Amun, long left unsaid, begin to return to lips, not in open defiance, but in whispers, in quiet invocations to stone that has not yet crumbled. The royal court remains locked behind pale walls, but the edges of the empire are not still. Grain shipments arrive late, taxes go unpaid. The outer provinces turn toward their own altars once more. Inside Akhenaten, the art continues, but it is not joy that fills the murals now. It is distance. The king is painted alone. The Aten shines only on him. The people are small, the courtiers silent. Even the daughters bow lower. The figure of Smenkare appears briefly, young, uncertain, maybe kin, maybe co-regent. His presence is a flicker, a placeholder, a name without weight. Then silence. There is no grand announcement, no wailing in the streets, no mourning rituals sent forth into the desert air, no triumphal carving of a king laid to rest. Akhenaten disappears. Whether by illness, by age, by will, it does not matter. The sun rises, and the city waits. But it does not wait long. Officials leave quietly. Houses are emptied, tools laid down. The palace still holds, but the heart is gone. The light feels different now, less sacred, more bare. The wind through the temple colonnades carries dust instead of song. The priests of Amun return, not in fury, but in certainty. They do not shout. They rebuild. The old names come back, chiseled carefully, where they once were scraped away. The balance is restored with quiet hands. The Aten remains overhead, but no one lifts their face. The city of sunlight, built without shadow, begins to cool. Its stones do not crumble, not yet, but they no longer glow. Chapter 6. The desert does not mourn. Its silence is the same as it was the day before and the day before that. The sun still climbs steadily from behind the eastern cliffs, casting long, gentle light across the pale bones of Akhenaten. There is no sound of mourning drums, no lines of veiled women keening in the dust, no golden bier carried through streets swept clean for the gods, no tomb carved deep into the mountain for this Pharaoh. Only stillness and light. Akhenaten is gone. There is no certainty in how. No records offer clarity. He may have faded gently, withdrawn deeper into the inner chambers of his palace until he simply did not emerge. Or he may have been gone longer than anyone dared say aloud. What remains is absence. Not an event, but a slow unfolding of vacancy, like morning fog dissolving into heat. In his place, there is no clear voice to follow. A man named Smenkare steps forward for a moment. Young, perhaps royal, perhaps a son, perhaps a brother. His name appears briefly in stone, fragile and pale, and then disappears again. No battles are fought, no throne seized, just a quiet rearranging, a drift of figures through open doorways, a new set of sandals at the base of the dais. The city begins to loosen. One house at a time, one column left unpainted, one gate no longer swept. Scribes begin to pack their tools. Courtiers slip back toward Thebes. The murals in the outer villas are left incomplete. Brushes are set down. The hymns are sung more softly, then not at all. The Aten still shines, but fewer look up. Beyond the city, the empire shows its fractures. The governors in the north await orders that never come. The Hittites test the borders, finding little resistance. Trade slows. The letters from distant vassals go unanswered, or are returned unread. And into this quiet, the old gods begin to return. Not in thunder, not with proclamations, but with memory, a name spoken again beneath breath, a statue unburied and turned upright. In Thebes, the great temples of Amun stir. Doors are opened, the columns are swept. The priests step once more into the sun, their chants no longer forbidden. No one declares the end of the Aten's reign, but no one needs to. Within Akhenaten, the signs are everywhere. Bread left unoffered, gardens untended. The great open temple, built with no roof to block the sky, now fills with dust and wind. The king's likenesses are left to fade. No new ones are carved, and so the city empties. A place that rose so quickly now recedes with the same hush. Stone by stone, the houses are stripped, the thresholds broken, the rooftops left to the mercy of time. Those who once believed they lived in the light of a new creation now return to older rhythms. The Nile flows. The gods return. The world moves forward. And yet the light does not leave the desert. It still falls in golden silence across the causeways. It still warms the pale columns. But no one watches for it now. The memory of Akhenaten does not burn away. It is scraped, his name removed from monuments, his image chipped from walls, his story set aside. The priests rewrite the lists of kings, and where his reign should sit, they leave a space. Not a void, but a silence that says he was never meant to be remembered. In the city he built, the one with no darkness, the shadows return slowly. They settle between the stones. They gather at the base of the temple columns. They grow long again across the palace floors. But the sun still rises, and the Aten, silent as ever, shines where no one looks. Chapter 7. The corridors are smaller now. Where once sunlight poured through open courts and onto pale stone, the palace walls are narrower, cooler, darker. The wide avenues of Akhenaten have been left behind, and in their place, the great city of Memphis waits, ancient and unchanged. The boy walks its halls softly. His sandals make little sound. He is slight and uncertain, dressed in gold too heavy for his age. He is 9 when the crown is placed on his head. They call him Tutankhamun, living image of the Aten, a child of the old light, born in the city where no shadows were allowed to fall. But shadows have returned, and the name will not last. His advisors whisper that it must change. Too many remember the king before him. Too many fear the empty temples, the silent prayers, the sun god that gave no answers. So the boy becomes Tutankhamun, living image of Amun, a name that roots him not in light, but in legacy. The old gods are restored. Temples are reopened, their sanctuaries swept clean, their altars laid with bread and flowers once more. The priests return in white robes. Incense rises again beneath painted ceilings, and the chants, long silenced, begin their rhythms anew. The names of Amun, of Osiris, of Horus and Isis are spoken with urgency, as if to pull the world back into place by sound alone. The statues of Akhenaten do not survive this. Stone by stone, they are toppled. Chiseled faces made to smile in radiant devotion are struck until they fall silent. Inscriptions are erased with care and precision. The great images of the sun's hands reaching down to the royal family are ground away. On walls and columns, the name Akhenaten is removed completely, each symbol scratched, each letter broken. Not punished, forgotten. Even the city he built, that place of light and clarity, is abandoned. Akhenaten fades like a mirage, left to sand and silence. The wind moves through its empty courtyards, sweeping the dust into rooms that will not be lived in again. Roofs fall, columns crack, and all that was once sacred beneath the open sky is left to crumble, quietly, beneath the weight of years. But the boy still rules. Tutankhamun, though small, is watched closely. His advisors guide his every step. I, an elder of the court, offers counsel. Horemheb, a general with sharp eyes, watches over the army. Together they shape the boy's reign. Not long, barely a decade, but enough. He does what is asked of him. He smiles when he is told. He leads processions. He offers to the gods in temples not built by his father. He's painted on walls standing beside Horus, before Amun, at the edge of the lotus pool. The art is careful again. The lines sharpen. The forms are balanced. There is no softness in these carvings. No family laughing beneath a sun disk. No father holding a daughter's hand while the god touches their cheeks. Only order. Only silence. Tutankhamun grows taller. He takes a wife, Akhenaten, his half-sister, daughter of Akhenaten. Their bond is tender, but uncertain. They are young. They are watched. They are not permitted to shape the world, only to fill the places left empty. Then, he is gone. Just a boy, perhaps 19, a fall, a fever, a wound. No one knows for certain. His death brings no ceremony. His tomb, small and unfinished, is prepared in haste. The burial chamber painted in a rush, its colours still wet when the stone is sealed. The gold is placed within, a mask moulded to his face, the scent of resin, the hush of linen layered over limbs, not meant to be still so soon. He is buried in the Valley of the Kings, among ancestors who would not speak his father's name. And yet he remains. His tomb is not found for over 3,000 years. When it is opened, it stirs something that had been buried with him, a mystery, a memory, a question. But Akhenaten is not inside. He is not buried beside his son. His tomb is never finished. His body, perhaps moved, perhaps lost, perhaps left to time without stone to hold his name. And so Egypt forgets. The boy king, Tutankhamun, remembered in gold. The father king, remembered in silence. The murals fade. The stories break apart. The city vanishes beneath the dust. But the sun still rises. Chapter 8. The wind moves gently across the ruins, whispering where voices once sang. There is no city here now, no laughter in the courtyards, no incense in the air, only broken walls and tumbled columns, their carvings half buried in sand. The stones lie pale and still beneath the same sky that once crowned them in fire. Akhenaten, the city of the horizon, sleeps beneath centuries of dust. But the light still finds it. Even now, long after its name was forgotten, the sun rises as it always did, casting gold along the ridge where Akhenaten first placed his boundary stone. The cliffs still frame the eastern sky. The Aten still rises between them, steady and unchanged. Time passed over this place like a slow tide. Centuries blurred the outlines of what had been. The world moved on. Empires rose and fell, kings were crowned and buried, and the desert stretched farther each year. Akhenaten was no longer spoken of. His name was missing from lists. His temples erased. His image broken wherever it was found. And yet, he remained. Not in power, not in memory, but in stone. When the archaeologists came, their brushes soft against plaster, their fingers tracing lines once drawn by hands long vanished, they found the city again. Not myth, not rumor, but real. Walls still standing, floors still painted, reliefs cut deep and strange. Aten still above them. And below, Akhenaten, his face unlike any other pharaoh, elongated, serene, both human and distant. his arms lifted toward the light, Nefertiti beside him. Daughters beneath their gaze. Not gods in war, not kings in triumph, but a family wrapped in stillness, in warmth. The carvings had not faded. They waited. Each sun disk carved into the stone held hands that reached out, not to rule, not to strike, but to touch. A god without image, a faith without myth, a man who tried to shape his world around a single idea. That light was enough. He comes back to us not as a ruler, but as a question. Who was he, truly? A prophet, a dreamer, a tyrant remaking the world in his own reflection, or simply a man who looked at the sun too long and believed there could be another way? His city tells us what he hoped. No darkness in the temples, no masks on the gods, no fear in devotion, just presence, just light. He did not conquer lands. He did not build monuments to war. He built a place where the sky was not hidden, where the divine came not from story, but from sun. It did not last. It was not embraced. It crumbled, as all things do. But it was real. For a moment it lived, and then it was buried. But the dust did not erase it fully. When the wind shifted, when the walls were uncovered, Akhenaten returned. Not in triumph, not in worship, but in curiosity. A name once scraped from stone, now spoken with wonder. His story told not in temples, but in classrooms. His face no longer feared, but studied. Not a god, not a villain, a man. And in that, perhaps something even greater. For what endures when the world forgets you? What remains when your name is removed, your city abandoned, your beliefs undone? Here, in the quiet of this desert, beneath a sky that still turns gold with morning, there is an answer. A carving, a face, a hand reaching for the light. The Aten rises again, as it did for him, and for those who came after. It rises not in honor or in grief. It rises because it always has. And still, after everything, the sun continues.